Hi, this is Khan from Ninja Pulls. I've finished all 14 DPS guides for update 40 and made more changes than I expected to. And now that I'm done, I wanted to share this bow stamina Dragonknight with you guys because it's a bit different, because bow builds are kinda great right now, they're easier than ever to put together, and because people keep asking about them. Stamina Dragonknight is very flexible, so DPS testing it can be a real time sink. Dual wield, 2H and bow all work pretty well. 2H is stronger on the dummy than dual wield because of Major Berserk from Wrecking Blow, but for me the bow is consistently stronger even without Major Berserk, so it should pull even further ahead in content. I got just shy of 125k with a completely static rotation, which isn't bad. And that's just single target damage. Look at combat metrics. A lot of these are AoEs, so when you've got multiple targets in a boss fight, this is gonna skyrocket. We're not quite talking Arcanist levels of silly AoE damage. You are not gonna see this setup on any world record runs, but it is really fucking strong and static. And it's super mobile thanks to the bow. Even the sustain is pretty good, by Dragonknight standards. See what I did there? I don't want to oversell it because it may not be to everyone's taste. A Wrecking Blow rotation is probably easier, and having two 5-second dots means the bow rotation is pretty relentless. But that's also what I love about it. In this one-button Arcanist meta, a playstyle that feels really fast and fluid is just a breath of fresh air. So give it a go. Here's the setup. The basic idea is to pair up Talons with Acid Spray. Both are 5-second dots with a big upfront hit, a short, fat dot, and a large area of effect. They're very different shapes, but in a stack and burn situation, they'll cover the target area in much the same way. And they keep up burning and poisoned on multiple targets, which is great for damage and sustain because of the combustion passive. This passive is also the reason I used Lethal Arrow. This ability always applies the poison status effect, basically making the spammable stronger and cheaper. You can switch to Stone Giant, which is another advantage this has over the Wrecking Blow setup. Stagger uptime won't be perfect with a static rotation, but good enough for most groups. Damage is similar with Stone Giant, and Ultigen is much better, thanks to the Mountain's Blessing passive. But sustain is much worse without those guaranteed combustion ticks, and in a long fight you really notice the difference. I'd use Lethal Arrow by default, and if you don't have a DK tank with you in content, you can swap. We'd be crazy not to include the two most obvious bow abilities, Poison Injection and Arrow Barrage. Endless Hail is often the preferred morph, but I went with Barrage because the 10-second duration fits so neatly with our two 5-second dots. Poison Injection and Barb Trap are 20 seconds, so they also fit perfectly. The only wild cards are Flames of Oblivion and Venomous Claw. Oblivion is fine, because we can just slot it on the front bar and can even recast it early for extra cleave, to conserve stamina, or just to keep Seething Fury at 3 stacks. And Venomous Claw lasts 24 seconds, which is close enough to 25 that we just recast it after every 5th cast of Acid Spray. I used the Master's Bow on the back bar and a Pillar of Nirn bow on the front, with Barrage on the front to make it easier to recast every 10 seconds. If cleave is the priority, then swap Barrage and Injection and use a Maelstrom bow on the back bar. Having the same weapon on both bars means we can move things around a lot. You can also shove all the bow stuff on the back bar and run daggers on the front with Stone Giant or Whirling Blades, and then you can also swap Pillar of Nirn for Aegis Caller. The rotation is the same, it's very flexible, but this particular setup is the one that gave me the best results. Pre-buff with Flames of Oblivion, Barrage and Trap. Then Talons, Spray, Injection, Standard, Eruption. Always Talons, then Spray, every 5 seconds, with 3 abilities in between. Try to be strict about this or you'll have gaps between your dots and will lose damage. And keep your weaving fast and smooth or the same thing will happen. This can take a bit of practice if you're new to ESO. The 1-second global cooldown is fundamental to how combat works. But luckily, one keystroke plus a mouse click every second is something most of us can do pretty easily. The difficulty is maintaining that timing and figuring out which cast is coming next whilst moving and obeying mechanics. To me, this is what the dummy is for. Building muscle memory so the basics of your rotation kinda happen on their own, and you can focus on these other things instead of staring at your ability bar. Also, the cast time on Lethal Arrow means we can't just bar swap whenever we want, and a static sequence makes that less of a problem. If you need to block for a moment, just recast Flames of Oblivion instead. Speaking of which, we do have Whip slotted on the back bar, and as of this patch, Seething Fury stacks are tracked on both bars. That's a big reason why this setup works. I tested it last patch as well, but I felt like the Wrecking Blow rotation was just easier to recommend. Now that's changed. If you're tracking Seething Fury, as I am here, the countdown on the whip icon, you can recast Flames of Oblivion early to prevent the stacks from running out. It's also handy to give your stamina sustain a bit of a break. Just don't overcast it or you'll have the opposite problem and run out of Magicka. Always a game of sustain with the Dragonknight. But it gets a lot easier in group content thanks to synergies, Enlivening Overflow, Symphony of Blades, Master's Resto, etc. Talk to your teammates if you're not sure you're getting enough of this stuff. If sustain is really good, then you might even be able to change your front bar weapon from charged to precise, and DPS should creep up slightly. Keep an eye on your standard and try to drop it the very second it's ready, unless you're waiting for a burst phase on the boss. Sometimes you'll get into execute and standard won't be ready, then either save your ult for the next encounter or use Dawnbreaker for a little boost in the last 20 seconds. That's it. 125k may not feel like that much these days, but it's been a couple of patches since I could get there with a Stam DK static rotation, and this is after Pillar of Nirn got reined in. You can't use Aegis Caller with a bow front bar, but other than that, use whatever set combo you want. For single target, Reliquant and Pillar of Nirn should be the best, at least this patch. There you go! Like I said, I'm having fun with this setup, and I want to bring this guy to lots of open trials in Update 40. Hopefully I'm not the only one, and this video was worth making. Please share it with your StamDK buddies, remind them that this class can still kick ass, and if you want to try something fun and different, give it a go. If you want to see more unusual setups like this one, tell me in the comments section, or DM me if you're in the Ninja Pulls Discord. That server is open to anyone if you want to learn trials with us, or if you just want to hang out. This has become a crazy big project, and we need a lot of support to keep making all these guides, vids, and teaching trials happen. So, throw us a sub here on YouTube, it costs nothing and helps us a lot. And check out the Twitch channel, which is run by Maya and is the main way we keep this show on the road. I'll see you there. Thanks guys.